the right hand side in the sense that this thing doesn't expand out to this. So this is an equation. So the first thing we need to do is to expand this. Okay, for which we simplify to get this on the right hand side. Okay, and then you can move everything over to the left. To achieve this, and simplifying it, we will get 2x cubed minus x squared plus 3x plus 2 equals to 0. Which is exactly the same expression as what we have in part I, right? Alright. Okay. So we see that this is already done somewhat here. We know that 2x plus 1 is a factor. So we make use of our answer in part I to our long division to know what is the remaining factor for this cubic equation. Okay. So with this cubic expression, we divide it by 2x plus 1. Okay. Since 2x plus 1 is a factor. Why I feel that it's not okay for you to not use 2x plus 1 because you have already done part I. You should make this efficient by using what the question is really given. I find that your method will eventually be longer in fact. Okay? So always be aware about what is done in the previous part. Okay? Then after that we will have x squared here. So 2x cubed plus x squared minus negative 2x squared minus x plus 3 plus 1 plus 4x plus 2. Okay, we will get 0 here. So through your long division, we see that we can get 2x plus 1 with x squared minus x plus 2 equals to 0. Even actually, you can only have 2x plus 1 and so only factor. That's what it's called. I already say half is not and x plus half is also not correct. Right? Yeah. Right? Okay. So anyway, you get this linear and quadratic factor. Okay, and then to solve it, you will say 2x plus 1 equals to 0 or x squared minus x plus 2 equals to 0, right? Keeping in mind that the question wants you to show that there's only one real root. So therefore, the real root should only come from solving this one where x equals to negative half. Okay, from this one here, okay, you will find that surely there will not be any real roots coming out of it. So you can just use your discriminant, b squared minus 4ac, to see that it is negative. So this is 1 minus 8, negative 7. So less than 0. So therefore, this quadratic equation has no real roots. Hence, this has only one real root. Correct lah, okay? You will not be able to do your long division correctly when this is hard. Okay, it will be challenging due to your fractional numbers. Okay, so that explains why in this particular question, to avoid you writing things like x plus half, they ask you to do 2x plus 1. Because by right, the correct factor is 2x plus 1, not x plus half. Okay? 9 when divided by x minus k. We want to show this. What will you do? What can you do?
Sum x equals
Sum x equals to k, right? Okay. So if I let x be equals to k, why is it that we let x equals to k? Because with the divisor x minus k be equals to 0, we see that x will be equals to k. So when x is equals to k, upon substitution, we get this, right? Okay, so sometimes maybe you don't understand the question, but the thing is that you need to understand some parts of the question. Surely you will be able to. Okay, so even if you don't understand what it means by showing this, how to even get there, but at least you must know what are the parts of the question and what you can do with it, right? When the question says divided by x minus k, you know that I can substitute in x to be equals to k. But there's also another piece of information I've not yet used, that the remainder is 9. What can I say, okay, when I know that the remainder is 9? So this will be equals to 9, right? Okay, equals to 9. Are we close to getting this? Yes, right? So we just have to bring the 9 over and then we can show already. Okay, then in part 2, we want to hence find the value of k. So since the question says hence, you need to make use of the answer in part I. What kind of equation is this? A cubic, right? So we follow the sequence of steps. We need to first find out what is the factor. So use your calculator. Okay, I didn't bring up my solutions. Take one. What do we have? 9, 7, negative 6. We have 8. Half, negative 2 or negative 3. So maybe we can use negative 2. So when k equals to negative 2. Remember, we're solving an equation in k now, not in x. So to take note of the notation. So when k equals to negative 2, do a check. Then it should give you equals to 0. Okay, it gives you equals to 0 because of this computation, not because this question says so. So therefore, k plus 2 is a factor. Right? So first step, find factor. Second step, do long division, right? Okay, do your long division, then you can get your k plus 2 along with something, okay, from your quotient over here, then you can solve, right? When this is equals to 0, k equals to negative 2, then for this one, solve a quadratic equation. Okay, I'll leave it to you to continue this step. Like that? Yeah.
the second one, right? Can you use quadratic formula?
Yes, yeah. But actually it can be factorized on that. Because looking at your calculator solutions, you know that you get all integer otherwise rational numbers. So it's definitely factorizable. But if you're not confident in that, then do by formula. Okay? Okay, last one. Find the coordinates of the points where the curves y equals to x cubed and y equals to 2 minus x, 5x plus 6 intersect. When we say two things intersect, what are we looking for? Simultaneous equation solving, right? So, equation 1, equation 2, sub 1 equal to 2. Are you all able to do this? Can do. I mean, it's the idea lah. Yeah. It's just because both are y lah. Yeah. Okay. Then from here, don't know how to continue, is it? don't know how to continue. Because you not hate, me shake it, you know, I don't know what is. So can do after this. Then who asked for this question? Where was the problem? Can solve? Cannot solve after this. So this one, you expand this. So 10x plus 12 minus 5x squared minus 6x. Okay. Then you can simplify here first if you want to. Bring everything to the right side. Okay, then again get cubic. Right, so press calculator, find the factor, then do long division. Can continue after this. Okay. So this one, the factor that we should use was 2, 5, negative 4, negative 12. Maybe also when x equals to negative 2. So do your long division. Solve it. But in this case, the thing to take note is that the question asks for coordinates. So it's not about finding the values of x only. Remember to find the value of y by substituting it back to one of the equation. Find the y coordinate. So I'm expecting that there should be 3 pairs of coordinates. Right? Let me check. Or two pairs of coordinates, sorry. Okay, there should be 2 pairs of coordinates. Okay. I don't know what are the coordinates. I leave it to you to solve. Okay. When you're done with your corrections, done solving, can you please pass your homework to the front? Okay. Now, last lesson, I have shown you. Can I start my lesson?
Yes.
Right. So last lesson, I showed you how to actually do our partial fractions decomposition. Okay. So these are some examples regarding the denominators. Okay. We have one example here, which the denominator is x plus 2 and x minus 7. Okay. For which I can say that in its decomposition, what are the 2 denominators we're going to get?
X plus 2.
X plus 2 and x minus 7. Okay, for which the numerator are numbers that we need to find. Okay, then in the denominator itself, okay, if I have x plus 2 and x minus 7 squared, how do I do the decomposition? X plus 2, x minus 7, and x minus 7 squared. Okay, great. Right, so this is your repeated linear factor, so therefore it will give you 2 fractions. And then after the last one, we have x minus 7 and the other one x squared plus 4. This one cannot be further factorized and it is quadratic. Okay, so therefore my 2 fractions fractions would be having a denominator of x minus 7 and x squared plus 4. Now what about the numerator? This one will let it be a, this one will be bx plus c. Okay? Now I remember Jovan came to me at the end of lesson the other day, okay, asking me why must it be like that. Okay, it's a very long explanation. Okay, I also never got around to really understand or go and sit through the whole explanation myself. You figure you went to Google it or you could do yourself. Okay, so it is really about, I think, your long division method lah. Okay, such that it is being defined this way. You don't really need to bother yourself with the whole explanation. You just have to remember about how its parts are going to look like. So you just recognize this as a definition. Okay, so it will actually be this kind of formation. Okay, then I'm also aware that some of you did ask Miss Low the other day about proper and improper fraction. Okay, so the definition of proper and improper algebraic fractions are such that it relies on the degree of the polynomial. Okay, so for it to be proper, the degree of the polynomial of the numerator must be smaller than, okay, the degree of the polynomial at the bottom. So how should I express this? Degree of numerator must be smaller than degree of denominator. Okay? While for your improper fraction, okay, your degree of numerator will be larger than the degree of the denominator. So somebody asked me slow that day, why cannot just substitute in numbers and then after that check, okay, what is the value and what's the outcome of it? Okay, substituting values into your algebraic fraction is only for a very specific example. It is not generic, it's not for every single value that comes out of it. Okay, so therefore you cannot just randomly choose a number, let's say maybe 2x squared plus 1 over 2x cubed plus 3x squared minus 7, for example. You cannot randomly just put in a number inside and then see what is the outcome of it. Okay, so that is not a correct way of defining a proper and improper fraction. It really depends on your degree of the polynomial in the numerator and in the denominator. So in this case, this is a degree 2 and this is a degree 3. So therefore, this is a proper fraction. Okay, so that is your definition also. Right? Now in the last lesson, I asked you to go back and get and try exercise 4.4 question 1b. So I hope that you went back home and got it tried out. Okay, so our first step, what do we need to do? Renee, what should we do? A over x plus 2. Okay, A over x plus 2 plus B over x plus 1. Then after that, we multiply across the entire identity here by this largest denominator. So we get x minus 2 equals to A times x plus 1 plus B times x plus 2. Okay? Then we need to find the value of A and B. How do we find the value of A and B? Yes, sorry. What do you say?
When x minus 1.
When x equals to negative 1. Okay, so when x equals to negative 1, that will help you to find out the value of B. Okay, so negative 1 minus 2 equals to 0 plus negative 1 plus 2. So this will be B. Then this is negative 3. So B is negative 3. Yes, 3.
How do we get x equals to?
How do we get x equals to negative 1? Okay, that is because when x equals to negative 1, this is 0. Right? Negative 1 plus 1 is 0. So A times 0 is 0. Right? So So down here becomes 0 already. What are you left finding? X are all being replaced already. You can only find out what is B. Yeah. So that's why we strategically choose x equals to -1. Okay. So if you get the idea, Jayden, how do we find the value of A? What should we let x equals to?
Negative.
-2. We want to make this 0 now. Okay. So -2 minus 2. This is negative A. This is -4. So A is 4. Okay. So therefore, your solution will be 4 over x plus 2 minus 3 over x plus 1. Okay? It should be minus 3, not plus -3. Okay? So in our last lesson, we have looked at examples pertaining to the type 1 over here. I also ended off in the last lesson looking at questions according to type 2. Just for us to recall, okay, maybe let's look at exercise 4.4, question 2, part C, where we are given 14 plus 7x minus 3x squared over x squared times x plus 1. Okay. If I have this fraction, what will the decomposition be? Okay, what will the decomposition be? Maybe Silon, sorry. Yeah. Can you tell me what will the decomposition be? A over x, is it? Then plus b over x squared plus c over x plus 2. Is it? Okay, do we agree with this decomposition? Alright, so x squared itself is as good as x plus 0 or x minus 0 square. Okay, so it's the same idea as doing this one over here, where we have repeated linear factor, which will generate two fractions for us. So that's why we have a over x plus b over x squared. Okay, so then from here, the next thing we have to do is multiply across by this denominator. That will give us ax times x plus 2 plus b times x plus 2 plus c x squared. I erase one b already. Okay, give you a little bit of time to think about how I got this, in case you can't follow. Okay, I'm multiplying across every single fraction by x squared times x plus 2. So this here are all the remaining parts. Okay, after cancelling out this x. Okay. Then now we find out what is A, B, and C. So what should we find first? And then what should we substitute x to become? Is that what you think? Just area. X equals to, sorry, negative 2. Okay, so I'll say negative 2, and that will help you to find the value of A, B, or C? C, right? Okay, so down here becomes 0. You can find this. So we get 14 plus 7 times negative 2 minus 3 times negative 2 squared. Okay, so 14 minus 14, 0. Negative 3 times 4, that will be negative 12. So C is negative 12, negative 3. Okay. And how do I find A and B? What next? Found C already. How do I find the others? Should I try? Okay. X equals to 0. Okay. When x equals to 0,
Oh, then
okay, this one no more, down here also no more, we can find B. Okay, so on the left side we only have 14, since down here will become zeros. Okay, so we will have then B times 0 plus 2, so that will be B. So B equals to 7. Okay.
Yeah, so if we have no other values, start starting from the
No, no other values there. 0 is a value, you know. Because when x is 0, down here becomes 0, then this whole thing is 0. Because a times x, if x is 0, so it's a times 0. So this whole thing becomes 0. Yeah. And down here also becomes 0. So that will help me find. It's not that there's no other value. Okay? Right? Then now, okay, we have not yet found a. Alright, so we know that when x is negative 2, it helps us to remove this and this already, find C. When x is 0, it has helped us to find B. Okay, so this is then the case where there's no other values. Okay, technically that will efficiently help us find the value of A. Okay, so therefore, alright, in this case, what value of x will you choose? Okay, we can just choose one. Okay, simple ones. Alright. If you want to choose 1,000 also can. I'm not stopping you from doing that. Just that one is easy to calculate because you can mentally calculate if you want to lah. Otherwise, just use calculator. So we get 14 plus 7 minus 3 equals to A times 1 times 3 plus B times 3 plus C times 1 squared. Okay. So I will have here 14 minus 3, 11 plus 7, 18. 3A plus 3B plus C. And B we have already found to be 7. C found to be negative 3. So 18 equals to 3A plus 7. And hence 3A equals to 18 minus 7, that's 11. Do you have any calculation mistake? 21. 3 times 7. Oh, yeah. Thank you. 21 minus 3, that is 1, 2, 3, 18. Right? Okay? 18 minus, alright, 3A equals 0. Why does it not make sense? How? Why can't A be 0? Why can't A be 0? Is it a sin for A to be 0? No, right? Okay, A is also a number, 0 is also a number, right? Okay? Calculations are not wrong, correct? So it is possible for A to be 0. Just that instead of having 3 parts or fractions, we are now very certain that there are only 2 fractions when it decomposes. So A is 0, so don't have the first fraction anymore. We go into the second fraction, we get 7 over x squared plus C will be negative 3, so negative minus 3 over x plus 2. So it's perfectly possible, okay, for the constant to actually become 0. Need not be always non-zero number. Okay. Can you use the third one? No, you shouldn't use the third one. Technically, this case, you can do the third one because this is x squared. Yeah. It is applies the same way. Your answers is the same. Yeah. But not all the time it will work like that. Because it's just because it's a unique case of x squared. Yeah. Okay. Right? Questions? Okay. What did I say? Okay. Now I want to ask how to check our answers. Sub what in where?
Sum in the ABC value to that.
Sub in the ABC value to where? Here. But that is what you get this answer. How to check our answers in the exam?
Sub is the A.
Sub x value. Okay, so what x value are you going to choose?
1.
Okay, you can choose 1. So long as it's not a value of x that will cause the denominator to become 0. Okay, because once the denominator becomes 0, your calculator will not be able to calculate for you. Okay, because you cannot divide by 0. So that's one way. Okay, so avoid choosing 0 and 1. Actually, I will choose. That's my preference. Okay, so try to choose slightly larger numbers, but more importantly, it is about the denominator cannot become 0. Okay, yeah, so that's one way. Any other options of checking? We know how to do from here to here, right? Combine the fraction together, right? So combine. Okay, so another way to actually check. Okay, I'll erase this part. Right, is that combining these two fractions, I will get 7 times x plus 2 minus 3x squared to get a denominator of x squared x plus 2. And then I get the exact same thing. Alright? Because that is the logic one, right? Okay, right at the start of partial fractions, I told you that we know how to combine two fractions together. We just don't know how to take one single fraction to split it up into separate ones. So these are reverse procedures. So the other way to get around it, okay, to check, is to just combine the fractions together to check whether you're able to get this. But of course, this will rely on your very strong algebraic sense. Okay, you need to be very careful about how you combine it. This one is simple because there's only two fractions. If there are three fractions, or if there are four fractions, it will then become algebraically challenging and not very efficient for you to check via this method anymore. A more efficient way for us to check is to substitute in values to ensure that they are equal. Okay, so those are some ways to check our answers. Alright, now let's move on. Okay, look at type 3 now. I want us to take a look at try 21. I know that the weather is very warm, but I appreciate you can all stay awake. Okay, so we want to express this in partial fractions. Okay, this is still a proper fraction. Our polynomial in the numerator is degree 2. This one is degree 3. Just wondering, does anyone not understand why the denominator is a degree 3 polynomial? Okay, because you expand this, x times x squared is x cubed already. Yeah, so the highest power is 3. Okay? So, to express this in partial fractions, looking at the denominators that we have x plus 1, and then we have x squared plus 3. X squared plus 3, can it be further factorized? No. Right? Okay? Because I don't know why you're not writing anything. You're not writing anything, then you need down there confirm statement. Okay? So, in this case, therefore it is a type 3 fraction, hence that we will have will be A over x plus 1 and then bx plus c over x squared plus 3. Okay? Yeah.
What is BS plus?
Why is it bx plus c? It's just a definition.
So you have to memorize that one.
Yeah. Then the top will be bx plus c or I mean b and c are just arbitrary letters. You want ax plus b also can. Just that I use a. So just don't repeat the constants, the letters. Okay, so with this, what time is it now? Alright, then we multiply across by this denominator. We get this. Okay. Then, as usual, our goal is to find out the value of A, B, and C. X equals to -1, wait, then we can find the value of A. Okay, so when x equals to -1, we will have 1 plus 1, 2 plus 12 plus 10, 12. Then we get 4A here. So A equals to 12 divided by 4, 3. So A is simple to find. How can we find B or C? Let's try thinking. If I still want to do substitution, which is still possible, how can we find B or C?
Just put negative equals to 0.
0. Okay? So if I let x to be 0, well, I cannot kind of eliminate away A, but I already know the value of A. It is not a problem for us anymore. Okay? When x is 0, I will be able to at least not consider my B, but I can it can help me to find out the value of C. Okay? So we can choose x to be 0. On the left hand side, I will get 10. Okay? Then A, which is 3, times 0 plus 3 plus B is now 0, C is there, and then we get 0 plus 1. Okay? So just gotta be careful when we do our substitution. So we get our 9 here, and this is C. So C is equals to 1. Okay? So we got A, we got C, how to find B? So for B, you just x equals to 1, that's possible. Okay? So let x be equals to 1 to help you to find out the value of B. Otherwise, any other number is also fine. So on the left, I will get 1 minus 1 plus 10. And then here I will have A, which is 3, 1 plus 3, plus B plus 1, 1 plus 1. And this is 10 equals 3, 4, 12, 8. 4 plus B plus 1. Okay, so B equals to negative. Okay, so then putting it back into our answer, not yet getting answer, make sure you put it back into its fraction form. So this answer will then be A is your 3 over x plus 1 plus B is negative 2. So now this is the part where I want us to be careful about our presentation. If B is negative 2, usually Okay, several ways to get around it. Since this is a positive one, you can present it as 1 minus 2x. That's one way to make it neater. Okay, another way is that if you want to bring up the negative sign, that means this one must become minus. Okay, because minus sign is for the entire fraction now. It is like factorizing out a negative one. So this must become a minus one.